No one is above the law. You heard that from President Biden. So what impact could this case have on police departments throughout the country? Joining us now to talk about that and much, much more is a man who's confronted unequal policing throughout his storied 30-plus year career. We'd like to welcome back to the show, Retired Chief Deputy U.S. Marshal Matthew Fogg. A lot of relief this morning for a lot of people, Mr. Fogg, but when you heard the verdict, what was your reaction?
Well, what I felt was it was a just verdict. The bottom line is I just realized it was just endemic to that one particular situation. And the culture is so much more pervasive when it comes down to policing and what we do and what we get away with, and the double standards of policing across America. And I work with dragnets operations from California, LAPD, Chicago, Miami. I done work with police departments all over the country, and I've seen the type of culture that's out there. So again, for this particular trial, yes, I was glad of the verdict. To me, if anything else, it would have been problems if they had to come up with that verdict. But yes, we're good to see that verdict, but we're hoping for change that I just don't see right now.
Yeah, and so I think when you joined us last time, we love having you on because it's that perspective, giving your history, your
Right.
resume. But we talked about these good versus bad apples. And I think I
Right.
took issue the last time you were on because as a layperson, I'm so tired of hearing about so many good apples. It's not to say that there's not good people who are doing policing. That's not what I mean. But for us to see
Right.
so many bad apples who appear to go about their devilish behavior unchecked, internally.
Right.
When you're on a basketball team, God forbid, if somebody's all out for themselves, at some point, the other four out there on the court get into it with that one guy. Share the ball,
Right.
do things the right way, follow the game plan. What does this
Right.
verdict and watching Derek Chauvin awkwardly led away in handcuffs, this one verdict, say to police officers? What will change?
Well, what we're hoping is we're hoping we don't get the what we call white backlash in the sense of right now the culture of policing has been for a long time that we've got a lot of discretion. We can get away with a lot. So once I started seeing the disproportionate impact in African American neighborhoods, the numbers of African Americans that are shot and killed by police in situations that they shouldn't be, not just killed, but there are a lot of people that are maimed or beat or have criminal
Yeah.
records and everything else that's occurred in this culture of indifference. So the problem is that until you get officers like myself who are willing to come forward and speak up, and for example, if those officers had a pushed shaving off of that guy before George Floyd died, I guarantee you they would have brought them officers up on charges. And just like we just had a female officer, I think it's in
Wow.
Buffalo, New York, they exonerated her.
Yep, yep.
After 15 years, her career was
Finally.
just literally destroyed. So this is the type of problem that we have in law enforcement. And until we can come
Wow.
together and do something about it as a collective body, you still gonna have that group of bad apples out there that spoils a lot for everybody else. And that's what you got out there right now.
Wow.
That's amazing that you just said that because, yeah, Carrie Horn actually got fired and she lost her pension for a long
That's
period of
right.
time in Buffalo for doing exactly the right thing. So we've been talking about the George Floyd Policing Act. Should that part be part of the Policing Act where it protects the so-called good apples if they're doing the right thing, stopping the bad apples on the force?
Right. When I started an organization, my organization's been in place for about 15 years on Congress Against Racism and Corruption in Law Enforcement, CARCO, and that's what we do. We get support the whistleblower cops from all over the United States. Anybody that's going to step up and speak out, because in this culture, once you speak out, your life is in danger, your livelihood is in danger. Everything I can
Wow.
think of, I went through it all. So the reality of it is you got to have other cops to speak out and to mention and to discuss this stuff because we know the good cops know who the bad cops are. I say it all the time. We know who the bad apples are. It's just nobody does anything about it. So when the shaving cases occurred, the only reason why this case is getting the publicity that it's getting because it was filmed. It was filmed and it was stood there and watched.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that's been hurt, maimed, and in this country due to racial violence in law enforcement that was never caught on camera and therefore you were able to get away with it because that department's going to come together and protect you. So yes, we have to have protections, meaningful whistleblower protections for law enforcement. The George Floyd Act is a start, but it's still so far and so much that we have to do to make sure officers are protected that come forward.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and you know what?
Yeah.
I think, you know, in doing that, maybe having some uniform, some guidelines at the federal level could help, could aid in that. But I think you do raise a point, because on the one hand, you have a lay person like me screaming at the TV, upset. Why are police allowing these gross aspects within and among their ranks to just move on unchecked? But you do raise a point that these police officers know from day one, it sounds like you're saying, Mr. Fogg, that they will be targeted and their very lives will be in danger if they dare to deviate from the party line.
That's right. And I'm in a U.S. Marshal. We have a witness protection program, and it is designed specifically to protect people who come against organized crime. You can't get any more organized than law enforcement. I tell people that. When we go bad, we are organized crime personified. So the reality of it is that we need that support. And once I've learned that, and I begin to speak out, because listen, they left me on a stakeout to get killed. My black partner out of New York City winds up, somebody runs his car off the road and broke his neck. All of us had filed discrimination complaints. The white partner, the same way with him. Issues, when you file against this department or any department, there's a coalesce where they get together, and next thing you know, you are the problem. You're the bad apple.
Wow. Sounds like corporate America, only the stakes are so much higher where people's lives are. Wow. That organized crime, I heard it, Mike.
Organized crime, I've heard them being called gangs, organized crime. I mean, that says it all right there. Question I have for you, because you look at this case and you see Derek Chauvin being taken away in handcuffs, and you would think, okay, that's going to be a deterrent to other cops out there saying, okay, well, there's now accountability. I could go to jail for a long time for doing something like this. But we also know that there are a lot of cops out there that are really sneaky. They'll look around. They might have their camera on, but they'll look around. They don't see any video cameras or eyewitnesses, and they may falsify reports. Do you think this will make them a little more sneaky now, knowing that if I do come out and basically tell the truth or turn in my camera or whatever, and it's not covered up, I could go to jail for a long time?
Well, again, no, I don't think this case is going to do that, because this case was an extreme example of bad policing, law enforcement, just straight up murder. That's what this case was. We watched it on TV. There's so many other cases where you can mess up somebody's life by charging with something they should have never been charged, or planting drugs on them. All of these things. We've seen all of these stories coming out where cops are admitting now they planted drugs on so many people, and we could see what we call double standards in policing, where if you run, we're gonna beat you behind. You know, all of the things that we did in law enforcement, that when I came out of the academy, when I learned all the right ways to do it, as soon as I got to my duty station, my manager, the first thing he said was, Fogg, you learned all that stuff at the academy, but let that stuff go. This is how we do it here. So the reality is the culture has to change, and where you, from the top down, we start to have where you vetting and scrutinizing of these departments, going in, looking at their records, determining if there's the racial bias and ticketing and charging and all this. And you're gonna uncover a hell of a rock once you do that. And then you're going to see what the real deal is. Then I do stuff.
How do you change it then? You said it has to change. How do you change it? Do you have to tear down the entire system? How do we start to make that change happen?
Well, because what you do is you start to go into these police departments and start to look at their records and determine what kind of racial bias policing has been going on. Once you do that, you start to target the individuals that was involved in this. Now, all of a sudden, it's going to become a real issue. Because, see, right now, even on the street, I've been giving word on the street that they've been told, the bad guys are told, y'all kill who you want in these urban neighborhoods, because the police are slowing down. They're not investigating anything. So if you want to go after people, you want to go after your friends and relatives, whoever, you do your thing. That's why we had this upswing in killings and murders and so forth. The bottom line is the police culture is so in depth and is so trenched in that you have to go in seriously and investigate these problems and determine. And you can see it if you get in and investigate. You'll see who the bad officers are. You start to point them out, and you start to say you got to go,
Wow.
or we're gonna prosecute you when we look at the stuff that you've done from the
Yeah.
past. You do that, and I guarantee you,
Yeah,
people will start
you.
jumping.
Yeah, you are a wealth of information, Retired Chief Deputy
I'm
U.S.
writing down a lot of
Marshal
notes.
Matthew Fogg. You have to come back. You have to stay close
Yeah.
with us, because I was going to ask you, Mike did it in his way, what law enforcement was planning and talking about as folks on the other side are mobilizing. And it's sad to say it on the other side, but also that audit you're talking about, auditing these departments
Right.
to figure out what's wrong and who's wrong. Boy, that's so crucial. I pray you'll stay with
Who's
us,
gonna do
Mr.
it?
Fogg, and come back again and again, because I get
wanna
it.
talk more
I'm
about
starting
this.
to learn more and more from you. I do too.
Yes,
Thank you so
yes.
much for joining
Yep.
us
I wanna-
right here on Start Your Day. We appreciate you.